Builders' confidence falls and mortgage rates are all over the place. What is happening in the residential marketplace right now and why? Why is this happening? There's so much inconsistency, volatility, and people are freaking out. I looked at analysts, what's happening in comparisons to Redfin, Zillow, the National Association of Home Builders, the National Association of Realtors, and I compiled some information for the month of May to be able to give you guys back a little bit of market information on what is currently thrusting the market right now and where investors should start focusing. Now, none of the news that I give you guys today is brand new. It's just how we're positioning ourselves as we're migrating through these uncharted territories and uncharted times and how we actually invest. And so we know that multifamily apartment complexes have been built in vast majority of areas across the United States and in excess of what has been built over the prior decade. And because of this, there's a massive amount of inventory coming to the market. So you can look at this one of two ways, both with residential single-family homes, or you can look at this in comparison to multifamily development. And let me explain what's happening, because each of the two are rooftops. They're supplying either new homeowners or people that are trying to scale up. And here's what's happening right now is that we knew that thousands and thousands of units amongst multiple cities can't get filled overnight. There's what's called an absorption rate time period where these units have to get filled. So we hear that there's an inventory crisis and homes that are available on the market don't even exist close to where they need to be. According to Zillow, right now, there is 1.2 million homes on the market nationwide. Now, the good news is that's up from last March of 1.1 million that were on the market. Here's the caveat to that. The caveat to that is that there needs to be 5 million homes on the market just to have a stable market where it's not a buyer's market or a seller's market. It's just an even playing field market. So when you look at it from a perspective from inventory, supply and demand, it is still a seller's market out there, no matter how you ante up the statistics, because there is less than 3.5 million homes that should be on the market that are not on the market today, meaning we have to increase the current supply 200% from where we are currently right now just to hit the current plateau of where the market is a fair marketplace. So when we look at this, there is a massive need for housing is what we're looking at. But the absorption rate, because of how many homes that got built over the last 7 years, because of all these homes that are coming to the market all at one time, we have single family and multifamily in vast majority of big cities across the United States with inventory that has been built. Now, all that stuff's coming to the market all at one time. We knew this. When we go into like West Phoenix, or you go up into Central Oregon, you go into Central Seattle, and you go into a lot of these big markets, what you see is cranes, and you see these big, massive multifamily developments that are going in, Class A, fully amenitized. And when those buildings all come to the market at one time, there's an absorption rate issue. Like you go into Denver and you get off the freeway on the I-70 or I-25, there's just mass apartment complexes going in. Are they needed? Absolutely. But the absorption rate will take the U.S. people a minimum of 2 years to fill all of that inventory. So one of the things that we looked at, like we were looking at our West Camelback project, for example, and West Camelback is in West Phoenix, where the vast majority of development is happening, but it's an infill product. So we looked at it more from an infill perspective that doesn't compete with the new inventory from the city expansion. And when we look at this stuff, we sit back and go, we knew there's going to be an absorption rate. And right now, we know that there's contractors that are available for hire. We also know that there's land and sellers that are willing to negotiate, and they're motivated because of what's happening in the market over the next 2 years. So in spite of the inventory crisis, ladies and gentlemen, this is a great time to position yourself for great deals to buy, because there's going to be an absorption rate that it takes to get all of this inventory out of the ground. Now, here's the good news. This has cautioned builders' confidence, because now with all the multifamily coming out, even single family builders, the average U.S. median sales price for a single family home, according to Redfin, in April is $387,000. Now, that's in comparison to the average listing price, it's $420,000. Now, when we look at this, ladies and gentlemen, we sit back and we go, okay, I don't want to play in that field because of all the absorption rate. That's why when we caution investors, we caution builders, we tell them, look, play outside of the 74% of where home buyers are buying homes. Now, I know that it sounds like, well, I'll just hit the majority, 74%. Wow, I'll just hit the majority. The problem is that's the absorption rate area where people are going in and they're trying to, big builders are trying to shake off the vast majority of their inventory that they built over the last few years, and the multifamily developers are competing against the same exact homeowners. And here's what it comes down to. The average median monthly mortgage right now is $2,854 per month. So from the perspective of the new home buyer and the people that are filling this inventory, here's what they're looking at. If you go in and the average median rent for a two-bedroom apartment is $2,300 a month, and the average mortgage is $2,800 a month, they're going to opt to go in and save $500 in rent versus buying. So there's a competitive nature between multifamily absorption and single-family median-priced homes nationwide. And so we tell people, look, you can go compete with the masses of absorption that are out there and hit 74% of all of these home buyers that are in the market trying to absorb a 2-year inventory surplus of what needs to get absorbed in the market. Or you can hit the vast majority of the cash buyers, which constitutes for over 16% of cash buyers, but it's only 24% of the upper median home buyers, 24%. And so we tell people, focus just above the average median, because that's where housing is mostly needed today. And so when we go in, we say, get above that $500,000 mark, stay under the $1 million mark, and focused on the upper middle class of people that are buying homes right now, because there is not enough inventory on the market. Okay? Now, let's talk about mortgage rates. Let's talk about interest rates, and let's talk about how people are financing this stuff. Because right now, as we look at March moving into April, according to Zillow, mortgage rates had skyrocketed, and it was really cusping the market, driving down home sales by 1.9% because of mortgage rates going up. So there was an aggressive undertaking of mortgage rates in May where they've actually come back down almost 0.25% in less than 30 days, making mortgages slightly more competitive for home buyers. Now, with the average seasonal adjustment of mortgage rates, right now is the cusp of the market where typically home sales are going through the roof. So I'm telling people right now, investors, listen, when we look at data and we look at the information, it can become very confusing. So for a lot of people, when they're looking at this stuff, you have to look at it from a macro perspective, and you look at this from a national perspective of what housing is currently doing. And typically that's even getting driven from an international perspective of how money is circulating. But for a lot of investors, they're looking at it from a micro perspective, and they don't want to look at it from a macro perspective because it's too much to absorb. And so when I talk to people, I tell them, look, you have to compare things with a level of logic. Is there a housing crisis? And the answer is absolutely. When builders contract, it only makes the opportunity for building greater. And the reason it makes it greater is because there's a catalyzing period that takes place when builders cusp. So when you see the big builders cusping and they slow down, that means they stop buying land in large magnitude. That means they stop building in large magnitude. Now, all of these trade professionals, when work softens, they migrate out. They go to other companies that are thriving at that time, and then some of them even leave the industry and go into other trades. I remember when I had friends that were electricians that decided to go into police and fire because it was more stable. Even though they took an income reduction, they had something that was more stable. So when there's volatility in the market, we lose tradesmen, we lose trade professionals. And so to catalyze that all again, it takes months and sometimes years, giving the small guy that has less than 5 units a year that they construct an opportunity to go out and make advancements financially. And so one of the big things right now is anytime I hear that the market's cusping, a lot of people say, oh, I should exit. When people run, you should get hungry. When people are too hungry, you should run. And the biggest thing right now is when builders retract in the vast median of home building, you should get hungry. And that's where you go buy. Right now, we just got a call from one of our general contractors out, they're based out of Austin, and they build also in Phoenix, and they were banking on one of our projects as the GC. And here's what happened. When last year in November, I called them, and we were about $5 million over budget from where we wanted to be. And I called them and I said, hey, look, this won't pencil with our baseline. We need to go to work and we need to reduce the price of this build by $5 million. I said, how negotiable are your subcontractors? And they said, yeah, we typically don't do that, because once we start negotiating with them, they start to up the prices with us, knowing that we're going to negotiate and push them on one build. They're going to do it to us on the next build, knowing that we're going to go back in and try to get a price reduction. So we won't do that. I said, okay. So we went to work reducing the prices. I was willing to do that. And so 30 days later, as we went to market, they called us and said, hey, are we ready to move forward? And I said, no, we're acting. And I leveled with them and said, hey, we're taking the product to market because we have to bring the cost down. And then again, second time, December, hey, where are we with pricing? Are you guys willing to take this back to your subs and market this so that way we can reduce the pricing? Got the exact same answer. So we said, fine, scrape that idea off the table. We're going to take this under our own belt. We start playing forward with subcontractors. We have decreased the price in overall budget by $6 million. It took us 3 months to do it, but over a $6 million reduction in price on our construction build cost based on hunger in the market. And when I say there's hunger in the market, what happens when there's a surplus of inventory and there's an absorption rate is all these people become unemployed. Now, unemployment is still down, but when you look at it from a trade perspective, these contractors do not want to lose good employees. So they will come in and lower their basis of overall profit to be able to keep their employees busy and pick up projects just to be able to afford the payroll and overcome that little absorption rate period of time. And so right now, we started hearing about that at the beginning of the year. And so I told contractors, I said, look, guys, don't get greedy. Let's go in and let's work together, reduce the price where you still make money, but it brings our overall cost down. And what happened is contractors get fat and lazy during times where the market is incredible. And when I say fat, they get money fat, right? They get money fat where they're just like, they'll just come in and hoard money and they'll increase prices and they become non-negotiable with reducing those prices. Now, all of a sudden, the tables turn, and it's the best thing that happened in the 2008 recession, and it's the best thing that's happening right now, because the vast majority of inflation isn't coming from raw materials and commodities, ladies and gentlemen. They are expensive. It's coming from labor and the cost of labor because of selfish greed and people trying to hit this cusp of increased premiums and increased revenue at a time when there's inflated amounts of inventory on the market. So become aware of it. And if you get nothing more from this video today, then this is the time for negotiations. You need to get and understand that in perspective right now. So if we could take an overall build of $35 million and reduce it down to just under $30 million, ladies and gentlemen, there's an opportunity for negotiation and due to absorption in the market. This right now is the time to negotiate. So when I sit back and I tell you guys that the national average for building a multifamily apartment complex is $185 per square foot, that means it's $185 a square foot. Do not allow contractors to charge you $220 a square foot to build a product they were building for $220 a square foot just a year ago, because those days have left. We have a 2-year inventory absorption period where those same contractors now have employees that are going to be sitting on the sidelines, and they're going to lose unless they negotiate and work within a threshold of reason and reasonable profitability where we can bring these people back to the market in a more modest square foot price to build the exact same product. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let the market alarm you and retract. It's not whether it's time to buy or sell. It's always a time to buy. It's always a time to sell. It's understanding the market, where we are at each point in the market, understanding how to migrate through that market and how to position yourself that day, that moment, that purchase to strategically position yourself to win, no matter what tomorrow's market circumstances are, no matter what yesterday's market circumstances are, and understanding that there's opportunity in every single market when you understand how to invest, how the market is migrating, and how you ultimately can benefit from that point in time, and where the weak parts and the strength of the market can reflect in your wins. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great market to win in. You just have to understand where you can go to negotiate, strategically position yourself to win, invest, and continue moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, for more content just like this, click and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Smash that thumbs up button. I'm going to recommend a video on how to buy land, build houses in the market sector that I recommended in this video. And I'm also going to recommend a second video on multifamily and how to scale into an 8-unit multifamily apartment complex. Ladies and gentlemen, go out there and compound your success.